Empires of the Undergrowth presents 3 ant selection options through the campaign. The beach levels present wood ants, with rapid fire and mortar options. The rainforest levels present leafcutter majors, with the stun and taunt options. The swamp levels present fire ants, with the pervasive and vigorous options. I've always had my favorite choices, but for years I've seen players claim one is better than the other. Rapid fire or mortar, stun or taunt, pervasive or vigorous. Which is right, which is wrong? Are they both correct, or are they both incorrect? It's time I throw my bias out the window and do a full analysis on all 6 ant choices, including viability, tactics, and abilities. We will start from the fire ants and work our way to the wood ants. The reason I'm starting from fire ants and not wood ants is because the fire ant and leafcutter major options are not very impactful, as the base unit is mostly the same. But wood ants are completely different on both their options, and therefore they have the most difference. With that out of the way, let's dive right into fire ants. Which fire ant is better, pervasive or vigorous? Pervasive is a fire ant option that will hatch newborn brood for free if they have been on the tile for 100 seconds or more. Vigorous is a fire ant option that will grant all newly hatched soldiers a huge boost. This boost consists of increased damage, 25% resistance to all incoming damage, 50% faster movement speed, all for 2 minutes. First and foremost, the fire ant battle test. We're going to pitch the fire ants against a series of creatures and compare the results. First, we needed to understand that pervasives are just flat out weaker than vigorous. The battle arena ignores food and just compares raw stats, which pervasive is not built for. Pervasive fire ants benefit from saving you food when respawning. On every single test, pervasive will underperform. In the 50 versus 50 and 100 versus 100, vigorous dominates. While level 3 against crabs and crickets, pervasive don't even win, while the vigorous do. Against army ants, pervasive lose while vigorous win. It's not even close. This brings an important point up. Pervasive can sometimes be better in rare situations. If you have enough ants to overwhelm an enemy force without losing, all the respawns will be free and you can fight for free shortly thereafter. If you don't have enough ants to overwhelm the enemy, you will get your army back for free and be forced to stay passive or fight with your underpowered ants and then pay the full price for respawns. This forces the player into a style that either punishes them or pacifies them. On the other hand, there's vigorous. If you don't have enough to overwhelm an enemy force, respawn and come back twice as strong. Use the vigorous momentum to go and conquer some part of the map, which is a key strategy for killing enemy colonies in cold blood and moving about the map with vigorous on a bridge too far. Now for the level test. We will test the fire ant options in cold blood and a bridge too far on insane. Pervasive and cold blood is an odd one. They work fine and actually allow me to play more snowball-y. I can't play as aggressive as I'd like to because my army is weaker than it should be. But my colony size is larger overall. This leads to a weird feeling. Sadly, this means I have to wait longer than I'd like to kill the little black ants, the big-headed ants, and the bullfrog. But, as always, the bullfrog and amphibian wave aren't even close. Vigorous on cold blood is my preferred playstyle. To truly demonstrate how ridiculous vigorous are, I opted to go for a world record pace. I can kill the bullfrog during the first half of the second day, instead of the morning on day 4, like I did in the vigorous run. I do fall to the amphibian wave, but the sheer speed and efficiency of vigorous should speak numbers about how crazy they are to be able to manage to kill the bullfrog this early. Now for a bridge too far. Pervasive on a bridge too far is quite tedious. I have to play super slowly. I opt to use the strategy from my old speedrun world record, but some things don't go to plan, as Pervasive simply aren't as strong as Vigorous. So, I slowly move through the level. On the 4th day, I almost actually lose. This is quite an issue, because usually I win before the 4th day. But just before the attack, I scrape together some food for workers. The free respawns are nice on a bridge too far, but with how fast-paced the level is, Vigorous are much better. Do not choose Pervasive. Vigorous, on the other hand, is a different story. Some of you may have seen my video in the past where I got the world record on this run. This is only possible with Vigorous. But since then, the world record has been completely shattered. But just to demonstrate how crazy Vigorous was, I decided to beat it for this video. I clear aggressively wherever I can, and I don't worry about respawns because all the respawning ants can get to where they need much quicker because they move 50% faster. Not only are Vigorous better because of the constant respawns, but a critically underrated notion about them, particularly on a bridge too far, is their ability to get to places quickly. This map is notorious for being really windy and really big. The movement speed buff that Pervasive are given is huge. To get this world run, I investigated into Poisonous Potato's video on his world record run. After watching through the video, I get to attempting, and soon I can take the world record of 25 minutes and 25 seconds before the Great Blue Skimmer even lands. This is only possible with Vigorous. Words struggle to describe how amazing Vigorous ants are on this level, and how lackluster Pervasive are. Now for the viability test. I must evaluate how practical both ant types are, and how often their niche becomes useful. Unlike other ant options, the level 3 niche is the same for both units. But that doesn't mean it works the same. Level 3 on a fire ant tile allows it to support 2 ants, but it can only incubate 1 at a time. It is very rare that only one of those ants dies and not the other because they can't be separated. This means that with Vigorous, only one of those ants are going to be free every time. You will always have to pay for one of the respawns every time. Vigorous, on the other hand, it simply means ants will be dying and respawned much more often, putting a constant Vigorous buff into your army, making it so much stronger. Now for the overall assessment. Well, Vigorous is better. Pervasive can only be better in free play, a long-term scenario where they might actually get value. But this video isn't about free play. Vigorous will always get more value than Pervasive, acting as super soldiers that can swarm, surround, and execute any target. Now on to the leaf cutters. We get to evaluate the stun and taunt leaf cutter major options. First of all, the battle test. The important thing to recognize before we talk about stun and taunt is that stuns are better in small number engagements, while taunts dominate large-scale fights. This is because stuns can stun small numbers and take a huge lead before the opponent is unstunned. Taunts are better large-scale because they split damage so well and so constantly by taunting enemies off of each other. Because of this, taunts destroy the majors in a 50 versus 50. In a 5 versus 5, however, stuns destroy with almost flawless colors. The 5 versus 5 both sides level 3 is mostly the same, except for one miraculous time where the taunts flawless to the stuns. This was really shocking and didn't happen again. Against the large crabs, taunts completely outperform. One of the times against the crabs, the taunts didn't even die. Not a single one, whereas the stuns got completely wiped. This was crazy. The only notable thing to mention is the fight against the 200 little black ants. When both majors are level 1, stuns get destroyed, but taunts actually win. Now for the level test. I'll test both the major types in Frontline, because in the Harvest, majors are completely irrelevant. In Frontline, both stuns and taunts have their ups and downs. Stuns are amazing at stunning high-level army ant majors, so they can't get their flash buff. But taunts are amazing because large-scale engagements are, well, better for taunts, as we saw in the battle test. However, because of the ups and downs, both types managed to almost get the world record. Now for the viability test. I evaluate how practical both types are and how often their niche becomes useful and how good the level 3 boost is. The level 3 niche for stun only comes into play sometimes, usually when it stuns ants. It can also be nice when stunning harvestmen or small whip spiders, things that tend to flee. Something not really mentioned about level 3 stun is it gets a splash damage stun, which means it can actually stun multiple targets for a very long time. This usually doesn't matter though, because the slow after the stun only affects movement speed and not attacking speed. Taunts on the other hand are a great option. Taunts on the other hand have a really good niche. Not only do they have a larger and longer taunt at level 3, but they also gain very high resistance when they hit low health, nearly doubling their overall tank potential. This always happens and will usually save so many ants from death. Overall, Taunt are superior, but not that superior. You may not notice the difference on things like Frontline and Formicarium Challenge 3, but the tests don't lie. Stuns really struggle to make their ability useful, whilst taunts split damage and vastly help army survivability. I strongly recommend choosing taunt majors on every single level and the Formicarium, but stun majors are not a bad option. Here, it really is up to personal preference. Finally, we have the most impactful option, the ranged wood ants. Ever since I've started Empires of the Undergrowth, I have been adamant that rapid fire are better. But every time I say it, or every time I say that Mortar sucks, I'll get that one comment saying, this guy really said Mortar sucks, or rapid fire aren't better than Mortar. So, here I am, finally ready to prove things wrong. Rapid fire are wood ant ranged options that shoot very fast and very accurately. They have an incredibly high DPS, but very low health. Mortar are ranged wood ants that shoot very slowly and very inaccurately. They have mediocre DPS and very low health. This is the most impactful choice for Rising Tide, Queen of the Hill, and your Formicarium. So, let's get into the battle test. Rapid Fire and Mortar are incredibly different from each other, and both have crazy potential to dish out huge damage. In all ant vs ant combat, I reran the trials in the thin layer, as it's important for the wood ants and their niche. Rapid would win with their high damage in the open arena, and Mortar used their increased range to stack up and execute the rapids in the thin arena. Now we run the same tests on both sides, level 3, and Mortar crushed the rapid fire every time. The tightly clumped rapid fire did not have the health to sustain such assaults. Against the large crabs though, both choices got destroyed when level 1. When level 3 though, rapid fire crushed the giant crabs, losing just 8 to 9 warriors. Mortar, on the other hand, did not fare nearly as well. The most crucial thing I need to point out is the level 3 wood ants versus army ants. In the open arena, rapid fire can hold their own due to the self-sustainability. In an open arena, rapid fire can hold on their own due to their self-sustainability, but the Mortar, they get destroyed. In the thin arena though, Mortar do fine. This really highlights how reliant on the thin corridors Mortar are, and even when they are fighting groups and not single targets. So overall, Mortar were inferior in every single matchup when they were level 1. When level 3, Mortar were inferior in most of them. I do not think the Mortar's level 3 niche is enough to offset the balance that Rapid Fire's insane DPS has, but let's see what Rising Tide and Queen of the Hill have in store for us. Now for the level test. We will test Rapid Fire and Mortar in their levels. I will play Rising Tide and Queen of the Hill on Insane. The exciting news about this is these levels have been redone. They have new art and new creature skins, and it's incredibly cool. So, let's start with Rising Tide. Rising Tide and all of its new changes make this level crazier than ever. The enemy ants that patrol around are now level 3, and there's a new sardine that appears on day 2. Rapid Fire are in general very good at day, and during the night. Level 3 Rapid Fire can gun down any ants before they even get close, and swarms of level 1s can plow through the beach without effort. Unfortunately, because of tiger beetle larvae, I can't contest the fish, but that doesn't stop me from trying, of course. Rapid Fire do their best to eat away at the enemy so we can collect the fish. During the second night is when Rapid Fire shine. Rapids do what Mortars struggle to do, and tear apart the sandbear wolf spiders using their superior level 3 DPS and attack speed slowing. This trend is continuous with the level, and Rapid Fire far surpass Mortar when it comes to single target DPS. Mortar on Rising Tide is a much different experience. Mortar struggle to hit approaching ants, and lack the DPS that makes wood ants amazing. Mortar struggle to kill the crabs on night 1. I then decide to take on 2 creature chambers at once, something that Rapid Fire could easily handle at this point, and honestly I thought Mortar could easily handle it too. Somehow, Mortar managed to fall short. I ran out of food, and the attack wave is already here. Even after some panic food management, I can't save my queen. Wow. Mortars are not built for Rising Tide. Rapid Fire on Queen of the Hill are an interesting concoction. Although they are much more effective than Mortar at defending the aphid patches from the ladybirds, Rapid Fire just can't do what the Mortar can. With the new changes on this level, a vast majority of the invading ants are level 2 and 3, making these attack waves so much scarier. However, along with these changes, aphids also produce their food at night, so defending them is much better. Rapid Fire can manage all of the attack waves with heavy food losses until the very last one. Part of the difficulty change was that the very last attack wave gained a 40% increase in size, in addition to the increased levels. Rapid Fire cannot do what Mortar do. I have about 80 Rapid Fire, and it does not matter. They get destroyed and my queen gets torn to pieces. Nothing matches the Mortar's unrivaled splash damage on Queen of the Hill. It's simply too good.
The day is almost over. The low ground is
Alright.
completely, and the ants are rushing up the bank.
Alright.
This is their final assault.
Let's get it!
The battle has begun.
Final assault! They got nothing. Oh, the black ants got distracted on... This is it. This is the one. I just won, didn't I? I just won! There's the Rupa Queen. Oh, that's a lot of ants, though. Oof. Wait, no, hold on. Wait a second. That's a lot of enemies. Hold on, no. No, please. Please. I'm out of food. No!
The colony is starving. There is
No!
nothing else to feed the new brood.
Wait, we still have so many left. There's so many left. So many. These guys are the heroes. The heroes, they're killing the ranged.
The queen.
It's that easy. It's literally just that easy. I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say.
The wood ants upon the hill have finally defeated their would-be successors. Tomorrow their empire will expand to the undefended intertidal flats below, commanding both the aphid farms and the bounty of the sea. This colony will rise to become an undeniable power in the Undergrowth.
It's that easy. It's that easy. Alright, well, I'm adding this into the video, so yeah, the story, look at those ants right there, that's so funny. The story is that I lost when I did this the first time, so I lost when I did this the first time, right, and then I recorded it, and I lost the recording, though. So I needed to record this again for the video, and I won. Wasn't supposed to win. So yeah, that proves my point. Rapid fire OP, baby. Nothing much else to say, right? The story of Mortar on Queen of the Hill is quite similar for the most part. Mortars aren't as good at night defense, but they are much better at day defense. I hit a critical mass, and I can defend even the toughest attack waves. Ants will enter my nest and become immediately pulverized by the huge waves of splash damage. Due to the increase of difficulty and the level 3 ants now appearing, Mortar do seem to be necessary. Now for the practicality. Now for the viability test. I evaluate how practical both types are, how often their niche becomes useful, and how good the level 3 boost is. Mortar have the edge over Rapid Fire with their high range and splash damage, but Rapid Fire excel at standard DPS and accuracy. Overall, due to the frequency of Mortar missing, they are only useful with incredibly strong tanks, and Mortar will only really get value once they're level 3. But even then, once the Mortar are level 3, the value they get is still undermined by Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire don't miss. They always slow their target, and they almost always get more value than the slow firing Mortar. Not to mention how the Rapid Fire slow affects both movement speed and attack speed. This can be excellent for holding a front line, as the reduced attack speed of the enemies will help preserve the tanks in the front. This was the crux of the plan I used on Formicarium Challenge 3 Deathless. The Rapid Fire in the back could slow the attack speed of the Army Ants and the Trapjaws in the front, increasing the survivability of my Black Ants and my Leafcutter Ants. It's a criminally underrated part of the Rapid Fire that people fail to mention. Now for the overall assessment. The overall assessment of Rapid Fire and Mortar. Mortar have standard DPS, very low health, and a very powerful but super niche level 3 ability. In the right scenarios, they can put any other ant to shame, but these scenarios are few and far between, only showing up on Queen of the Hill and sometimes Formicarium Challenge 3. In every other scenario, the Rapid Fire is a superior choice. Rapid Fire have high damage per second, very low health, and a very powerful and very broad level 3 ability. They dish out higher attack speed and damage at level 3, as well as slowing the movement and attack speed of anything they hit. This improves the survivability of themselves and other ants, and will always trigger, unlike the Mortar level 3, which will only trigger on groups. Well, that's the conclusion. Rapid Fire are superior. Mortar might be necessary on Queen of the Hill, but I'm willing to bet that a skilled player could do them with Rapid Fire, as I've done in the past. That's all, folks. Rapid Fire, Taunt, and Vigorous. These are the superior options in most scenarios. Things like Mortar and Stun do have their places, but in general they aren't very useful. The most important takeaway from this video should be to never use Pervasive. They're really bad. Thank you for watching. These videos take me forever to record, edit, and upload, so I'd be very appreciative if you could like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, and have a lovely day.